Welcome to episode 6 of the You Can't Comp This podcast. I'm your co-host, Adam Amy, joined as always by Russell. Today on the show, we are going to go over Fanatics buying tops, Logan Paul buying $3.5 million worth of potentially fake Pokemon cards. And we asked the listeners, what is the greatest photograph on an NBA card? So let's kick things off. Russell, how are you today?
Very well, mate, and I'm very glad to be here too. So thanks for your time and joining us. And should we just get straight into this Logan Paul story?
Oh, the Logan Paul story. This is I don't know how you'd feel, but I would be absolutely mortified if I found out I just dropped $3.5 million on a bunch of fake cards.
Yeah.
So what's the story?
There's a lot of information out on the internet about this. I don't think we need to go through, every detail, but essentially a case surfaced on eBay, which was passed in at $72K.
Yep.
And eventually it got resold and then it was verified. And I probably think this is the part that I wanted to talk about the most. Is it was verified by a group called Baseball Card Exchange. And then
Yep.
after that, that's when the money really started to increase. So after it was sold, after it was verified by Baseball Card Exchange, it was then sold for $2.7 million. And then that person then on-sold it to Logan Paul for $3.5 million. So
Wow.
huge dollars there. I mean, if you're a skeptic and you say, well, this risk is worth it because if it is, a genuine profit, a genuine product, the profit is, there to be made. But at the same time, it seems to me like a massive risk to take. And also, too, it seems to me like he hasn't done his due diligence, which you would assume you would make if you're going to drop $3 million
on some cardboard. Yeah, I think doing some research would be the way to go. But
yeah,
I mean, what happens if these aren't genuine cards?
The skeptic in me says that there's no way you spend that much money and you don't have some type of guarantee. So
yeah. You wouldn't want to be outed as the person that sold Logan Paul a bunch of dodgy Pokemon cards. So
yeah, and whether the Baseball Card Exchange is now going to, guarantee that and refund his purchase, or the person he bought it from is providing some type of money back guarantee if it is indeed fake, because then their money will be guaranteed by Baseball Card Exchange. But
my question is, who is Baseball Card Exchange? Are they, like, credibility wise? I'm guessing if their verification is what sealed the deal, so to speak, and caused this giant skyrocketing price, then I guess if it's proven to be all fake, there's got to be some liability on Baseball Card Exchange.
Yeah, definitely. I think there has to be some liability, and they can't deny that, because otherwise, what's the point of their their business name and their brand name? But actually, a lot has come out since that time. They're actually written online that they're not an authority on Pokemon authentication. So should they have been authenticating in the first place? And then also too, they did put up a video of their actual authentication process, and it did seem a little bit rushed to me, or maybe that was just the video that they put online. Like that's a little bit difficult to, you never know really about what you're seeing online, but
yeah, the internet is a dark and scary place at times. So
we're not talking about the dark web either, are we? We're just talking about
just the internet in general. Like I don't know. Google comes back with some questionable results, but hopefully Logan Paul isn't being completely shafted. Because I couldn't imagine he'll get his $3.5 million back if they're not the real deal.
I mean, who knows? And look, and there's other skeptics will say too, well, he's probably getting $1 million worth of clicks out of this, so even if it is a fake, and I'm assuming he'll tax deduct all of this too. Like, I'm just trying to put in my head together, like, how you'd sort of get around this, but maybe at the end of the day, he can still turn a profit out of buying a fake case for $3.5 million. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Now, speaking of buying things.
Yeah, talk to me.
Our friends at Fanatics.
Yeah.
They're making moves. Now,
huge moves.
We finished the Luba Manifesto only on the last episode.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of conjecture, a lot of speculation about what Fanatics were going to do and what things were going to look like moving forward.
Yeah.
Is this the first of many moves? Because this is big news.
Yeah.
The acquisition of Tops.
I feel like I've sort of lost count of how many big moves they've made. And I love too how they make these moves and nothing's known about it until the move has happened. Like
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
they can sort of keep a closed house that is impressive, and you got to give them some kudos for that. So,
Yep.
in your mind, what comes forward first when you hear about Fanatics buying Tops? What does it mean
I
to
just
you?
hear the words Tops Chrome
Yeah,
in my mind.
yeah,
Um,
and that's because we're so basketball centric, right?
Basketball centric. Well,
Yeah,
this is the thing though. They're. I mean, we were talking about this before the show.
yeah,
They're really synonymous with baseball.
yeah, and
So
that's probably what they're currently biggest known for, because they don't do NBA.
and
Yeah,
as far as collector cards go, baseball cards are probably the oldest as far
yeah,
as
they're the OG.
history
Yeah,
and where this all stemmed from. So
definitely.
having baseball cards sort of on the docket
Yeah,
and in Fanatics is a huge step in the right direction. And
yeah,
I think this is the first of many moves. But it's not just Major League Baseball.
yeah,
It's some other sports.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
what have we got? We've got some what is
Formula
it?
One, UEFA, Major League Soccer,
Yep.
and probably I think we should also add to that too. It's the physical products, and it's also the
Yep.
NFTs. Like they've acquired the entire company. They've acquired all of their stuff, and all of their stuff will just be integrated into the Fnatic stuff too. So that's, I think, from my point of view, from a
Yep.
people's perspective, that's really important because
Yep.
yeah,
Well, as long as they're looking after the staff as well as
yeah,
it's going to be a seamless transition
yeah,
for Tops anyway. So the products will roll through,
yeah,
and then they will continue to roll through from 2025 into 26.
yeah, that's
So
right. So their contract was ending in 2025,
yep.
and because Fanatics had acquired all of the major licenses,
Mm-hmm.
Tops weren't going to be able to do licensed products in 2026. So in terms of maybe Fanatics really negotiating from a position of power, you can kind of almost see how Tops really had no choice but to sell out because
Well, it's either make unlicensed product,
exactly,
and then and sort of bury yourself,
yeah,
or continue doing what you do under the ownership of Fanatics.
yeah. And actually, the thing that's come to my mind in terms of Fanatics' point of view is that it seems to be speculated that Upper Deck are unobtainable and
Mm,
that Panini are probably too big for them to buy out. So if they're having troubles negotiating with Panini and they're having troubles negotiating with Upper Deck, and in terms of producing
mm.
product, well then they can just begin making NBA product with Tops. And I actually think that in terms of their product and also their ability to negotiate moving forward, I actually think this is a really, really important chess piece.
I was going to
And
say this seems more like a chess move
yeah,
for other sports
yeah, absolutely.
rather than specifically. Like, it's great that they've got baseball on board.
Yeah,
They've got a lot of room to move
yeah,
with international football or soccer,
yeah,
depending where in the world you live.
yeah,
But it's a big move, and it says we don't need you to stay on board to Panini and Upper Deck,
yeah,
but you're welcome to join the party. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I think it's actually extending an olive branch of sorts when they make their next play
yeah,
to absorb these companies.
yeah,
I think they've got a big bargaining chip there to say, you know what, things will continue.
yeah,
You don't need to be sort of stubborn about it.
yeah.
But we're not going to be left high and dry if you don't jump on board.
Yeah,
We can just go with Tops, yeah.
I didn't think of it like that, to be honest, but that's an interesting perspective for sure.
Mm,
And I would probably also say too, like in my mind, 500 million seems a lot for Tops
yep.
because if that was essentially a company that was going to perish, because once they lost baseball, really, what would they have been left with? They would have been left with
Mm,
Formula One and a little bit of soccer. So
that's
to me,
interesting.
that seems like a very fair price to pay. And then to roll on from that, if that's what Tops is worth, what would you then speculate that Panini is worth? What, 10x?
It's
20?
yeah. Look,
Like Panini has
tw-
created a juggernaut. Like you can't. There's a lot of hate
I
around for
feel like I
Panini.
still feel like Panini's going to have the corpse picked a bit. Like, they're only going to take the bits that they like from the Panini model. They're going to take the sets that they like. There's going to be, I don't know. They don't need Panini to produce basketball cards. As you said, Tops have done it in the past, so they can start. They've got an infrastructure to work with. Upper Deck are really the real fact is that Upper Deck's a shadow of its former self.
Absolutely,
And
but
I
they
don't
have
think.
Jordan and LeBron, and that you cannot deny that.
Yes, this is true. This is true, but they've got Fanatics will have the license. Will have all licenses.
Yeah.
Right? Do Upper Deck lose the license in 2025?
No.
So they keep LeBron and
no. So that's up to LeBron and Jordan, like who they sign with, right? And as far as I understand, they're like lifelong contracts.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to Panini. They don't want to go to Topps. They only ever want to be with Upper Deck.
Yeah.
So, it's irrelevant of who's actually got the NBA license.
But if Upper Deck, it's weird. It's going to be. I feel like Fanatics are making not power moves, but they're doing things in a fair and equitable way to say, you know what, we're not here to fight, but we are running the show.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's a sensible way for Fanatics to come onto the market. They've given 5 years notice. They're like, hey, in the next 5 years, this is happening.
Yeah.
Like it or not, this is happening.
Yeah.
Now, Panini, you guys can get on board, and it might be a $2.5 billion sale, but you're not going to be able to print product after 2025.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you guys still want to be a juggernaut and operate and still make good money, yet the profits are distributed differently?
Yeah.
Obviously, because of the ownership structure. Yeah. But I think the high ups at Panini would be very happy to take a reasonable price to be absorbed into the Fanatics umbrella.
Interesting.
And I think this Topps acquisition is the first step in establishing a real foothold in the market.
Yeah.
You do that with baseball. Like, baseball's the big one. As much as we're both very, very basketball centric.
Yeah, definitely.
You get the OG in baseball and the rest, and an up and comer in the soccer. So if basketball doesn't follow suit, it could get ugly. But they can do it. They can make their own product, and I think Fanatics are ready to do that.
Interesting.
If Panini and Upper Deck don't want to play ball, I don't see why they wouldn't. Like, it's a Godfather going to make them an offer they can't refuse situation. It's going to be money for everyone.
I probably have. Look, at the end of the day, we're 100% speculating, right? Like, nothing has come out. And then, as we've already said, like, they play their cards so close to their chest. We won't know until the deals are done. But my gut feeling is I actually don't think Fanatics can do it without Panini. I think that it's just impossible for them because
it'll be a slog. It'll be an uphill slog, I think, if they don't get Panini on board. But I think they're making moves to really entice Panini to say yes.
Sure. Yeah. And I think what you said before seems to be relatively accurate. They want to work with these companies, and however, whether they buy them out or they're working side by side, they know they have to have a win-win for both. Yeah. But I just want to really emphasize this. We aren't in this situation where we're going through this boom, even though, yes, we are coming down off a decline without Panini. Panini has made this literally from the 90s when it was literally called junk wax to where we are now. So I don't think that Fanatics can do what Panini does. And I would probably also say too, they've already been on the record. They don't want to make cards. They just want to organize it and then distribute it. So that probably also says to me too that, Panini is very, very safe. They're in a very strong position, whether they're working with them or they're, bought out. And I think just your other point too, you're talking about soccer. So we had Martin come on to Card School. This is probably 10 or 12 episodes now ago, and probably my feeling talking to him was that soccer is like this sort of world game, and why isn't there more of an interest in soccer and UEFA? And maybe Fanatics coming across is something that's going to really boost that up, and there is going to be this sort of massive surge there. So I'll say that too. And then the other thing I just wanted to add to the conversation about Formula One was there was recently a 1-of-1 Lewis Hamilton Topps Chrome card pulled, and I was reading through a post about that on a forum that was showing the different sold comp prices of cards that were numbered to 50, and I was like, 50K some of these cards were selling for in US dollars, and there was some sort of, conjecture that eventually that will be $1 million card. So
Oh wow.
I think in terms of, like, you almost think that, Formula One being included in this deal is like sort of a throwaway part to it, but maybe it's like the Chris Middleton in the Bucks and Detroit trade. Actually, it turns out to be this massive piece that is
Turns
really
out to be
important.
a vital piece.
A
Yeah,
really
that's
important part. Yeah. So I think this is really exciting. I think in terms of, basketball cards, let's just sort of go like full circle. Like, do you see Topps Chrome coming back, and do you see it replacing any products, or do you think it's going to be side by side by everything? What do you see about that?
As far as replacing products,
Yeah.
I think, and this is, as we said, just pure speculation.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that Fanatics want a certain range of products.
Sure.
They want something from the modern era.
Yeah.
They want something back from the, we'll call it the junk wax era, the 90s. Like when now that they've got Topps, they can bring back any Topps product.
Yeah.
That was a basketball product.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a lot of collectors out there that get excited just at the prospect of Topps Chrome rookies again. Now, does this mean they don't release Prism?
Right.
Probably
and this
not.
is what I wanted to talk about too.
This is probably. I think there's a suite of products that they want, and I think Hoops will stay. I think if they get Panini in Upper Deck, right?
Yeah.
Say they get everybody.
Yeah.
You go all card sets ever released.
Yeah.
I think we get Hoops. I think we get Topps Chrome.
Yeah.
I think we get an Upper Deck set.
Yeah.
I think we go back in time to grab sets out of the junk wax era, and we add them to the current table.
Yeah.
We look at the long staying sets, and it condenses into a different rollout. We went through some inserts that have moved around, and I think that's where the changes are coming. I think inserts and chase cards and I suppose case hits are going to change which set they come out in.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a very specific suite of products in a variety of price points that Fanatics have got an idea for.
Yeah.
And if one of their purchases doesn't go through, they have another product waiting in the wings to just replace it.
Yeah.
And I think their pitch has got to be, in a perfect world, let's bring it all together.
Yeah.
Let's get the basic Hoops Donruss kind of product at the low end where it's always been, and it's not a bad thing. We've recently seen Hoops, the newest Hoop set come out.
Yeah. The price has been pretty reasonable so far.
Exactly. But then you've got a price point for everything.
Probably half of what it was last year. So we were talking about, prices last week and, viability and being able to buy into breaks at a reasonable price. Like 50% from last year it's crazy.
It feels like there's been some level of, I don't know, it's sort of stabilized.
Yeah.
People have been allowed out of their homes again. The crazy sort of died down a little bit, and there's still a lot of demand for product, but the supply is there this time round.
Yeah, and maybe people were a bit bitten from last year too, when stock was so high and they did lose money.
Yep. Where the value, you were never going to get your value back on a box. It was just a waste of money.
Sorry, we've digressed. Let's go back to did you finish your thought?
Yeah. I definitely think that our friends over at Fanatics have got a plan. And I mean, the Luba Manifesto was just his thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't so much a roadmap, as he's stated a number of times, but there is a plan in the background. There has to be a plan in the background. You don't make moves like this seamlessly unless you have a very clear direction that you want to head. Yeah. And at the moment, I think they're very much where Fanatics, we've got this huge deal. We've sort of said in 5 years' time things are changing. This is how we're coming. We come in peace.
Yeah.
And we want to work together. We don't want to kill the industry. We want to grow the industry.
100%. They're not spending that money to kill the industry. Yeah.
Correct. Like, I think this move is the first step in a direction a lot of us would like to see.
Yeah.
And look, I don't, as stubborn as some companies can be, I don't see Upper Deck and Panini getting in the way to a detrimental point, because I feel like it'll be cutting their nose off to spite their face. Really, I think that they don't want to martyr themselves, because I think Fanatics have got backups.
Yeah.
They've got a very clear direction, and they're ready to attack this head on if people don't. If Upper Deck or Panini want to be hostile, I think there's a plan B.
Definitely, yeah. And now they've got Tops. They've got a very viable plan B, right?
Yep.
Tops
and plan
brand.
A is
delicious. Let's go.
Is let's go. To quote Jackie Moon, ELE. Everybody love everybody. So let's quoting a bit of semi-pro. Wow.
So, I think so. My thought about this was that Donruss Optic was almost a copy of Tops.
Yep.
And Tops Chrome. So I was thinking to myself, does that mean there's going to be no more Optic, that they'll just sort of like replace that with that?
Yep.
Because I see a lot of similarities between those two products.
Yep.
And maybe that's just, again, like me being a skeptic, but that's probably what I think. But when I made a list of the products that are in the last couple of years have been released, which I probably think are more viable to be replaced than Donruss Optic.
Yep.
So Recon, Flux, Encased, and then these next two is Flawless and Exquisite. And I'll hold those two for a second, but I can definitely see Tops Chrome replacing Recon or Flux easily, because I don't really think that the uptake on those two products has been like that good, to be honest.
Yep.
I think the resale's been pretty weak, and I was definitely complimentary of these products last week in terms of them trying new things and also making product available to people at an affordable price. And I stand by that comment. But
for sure,
now that we have Tops Chrome coming back in, like, are you asking me, would I rather spend $300 on a Tops Chrome box or $300 on a Recon? Like, come on, there's no conversation. Yeah, there's no conversation. Like, I'm assuming that it's at $350. I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but you know what I'm trying to say.
You insert price point, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like at a certain price point, do I want Tops Chrome? Yes, I want Tops Chrome.
Yeah. Then I really briefly touched on Flawless. So let's, discuss that for a second. That is an amazing product. And I'm not saying that it should be removed from the production line. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think that the money that you spend on that and then the resale on that is what it should be. Like, realistically, people are more happier to buy iMac and NT.
Yeah.
So do you see like a really high-end Upper Deck product coming out to replace that? Yes. I could see that happening every day of the week. And now that, Fanatics is sort of, sitting in that umbrella position, again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here that, Upper Deck's going to like hop into bed with Fanatics, and, like,
in a perfect world that happens, right?
Let's remain hopeful, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose that, and maybe like the really viable question here is, do we see the end of Donruss Optic because there's too much, there's too much similarity between these two products?
Do we just get the normal Donruss and the Donruss Clear?
Yeah, I don't know about.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, maybe Clearly stays, but I think if
does Donruss just stay down with hoops?
Yeah, definitely.
As the other low end entry point.
All right, Panini, if you're listening, can you please bring back next day autos into Donruss? Because otherwise, what is the point of buying Donruss? You might as well buy hoops. Like, let's be real here. Please bring that back. Okay, segue over. But yeah, I think Optic. I can actually see Optic going. I think if Tops Chrome comes back, and
it's comparable. It's a similar product. I definitely
in my mind it's the same. And I think you sort of spoke about like Prism going, but no way. Prism is
Prism becomes it's a flagship set.
It's become its own thing, and there's no reason that you can't have those two products, standing side by side. And what's really interesting, because there's always been that conversation of like, who's going to win, Optic or Prism? Well, now actually the conversation comes, is it Tops Chrome that's going to win, or is it going to be Prism? And that's a super cool competition. That's actually like real life. Yeah.
I'll say game on for that, for sure.
How cool is that? Yeah.
That's, Can you imagine that, comparing someone's Prism rookie and their Tops Chrome rookie?
Ooh, factor. Yeah.
Yep. And this is where, I think Select might be on the chopping block.
Don't say that.
We'll rename it one of one. Oh wait, we've already got to set this one. Anyway,
Don't.
It's 1 and 1.
Why are you trying to hurt my feelings? You know I love
Rough,
select.
rough.
And
Okay. Speaking of hurt feelings, did we want to touch on Zion Watch?
Yeah, we can for sure. Let's do it.
Or do
I haven't checked in, to be honest, for a couple of weeks now, so I can quickly jump on Card Ladder.
I was going to say we can have a quick look at Zion's card prices.
Yeah, let's do it.
As far as Zion Watch is, there's not much to see. He's pretty much wrapped up, isn't he? Unless he's miraculously training again.
Oh man. So PSA 10 last sold for 214 USD. So in some ways that's stabilized. And it's been pretty steady around that $200 mark since the 14th of December. So maybe that's the price.
Maybe that is the price.
All right, cool. So let's do it. Buy, hold, sell at $214, man. Would you buy one?
I'm close to buy.
Yeah.
I'm close. I'm not. I'm nervous still because we're still on the dip.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely worth a look.
Yeah. Alrighty. Now we're talking about buy, hold, and sell. So last week we spoke about James Harden. Did you do any follow up into that?
Oh, was this into the that outrageous $78 prison? The one that instead of $3,500.
Yeah, and do you know, actually my dad called me about this and said, like, did you two have your first disagreement on the show? I think we should probably clarify this. So I think so the point I was trying to make was, let's remove that $78 sold from the PSA 10.
Yep.
Because
I agree.
Let's just say that it's PSA 10 Harden rookie is 1,300, right?
Yep.
You can buy a base, and the last few base that was selling when we were looking in the $30 range. So the point I was trying to make was, do you buy them for $30? You send them off to PSA to get graded in the hope that it's going to go from 30 to 1,300.
And that
was probably
value.
I didn't make my point, very clearly, and clearly, obviously, I didn't. So actually, I've been bidding on a few this week, and so maybe last week was the bottom of the hill, because they're now back up to like 40, 50, up to $80 they've been selling for in the last 7 days.
Okay. So it was a bit of a dip, but now it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like it was hidden value that you saw. I would never invest in James Harden. He's let me down too. He's let people down way too many times in the playoffs. So
yeah, look, I'm going to buy a couple. I think the conversation we had last week, I think in terms of old time, I'm fine with that. But I probably would say, if you are looking to buy something at the moment, you need to change your expectation from 30 US to probably like 55 to 60 US, because you might be able to pick them up, I reckon, for 50 maybe if you get lucky. But the buy it nows are like 80 plus, and then auctioning is at sort of 55 to 65 mark. So yeah. So speaking of legends of the game, there was a massive Dominique Wilkins card pulled this week out of iMac. It's a 1-of-1 sneaker card, and it actually had the tongue of his shoe inset into the card with the Reebok pump mechanism in it. So
that's insane.
Yeah, I think in terms of patches and sneaker cards, this is just absolutely the cream on the cake. And interesting though, when they were opening the box, you could actually see it was kind of like lifted up a little bit. Like he was looking at it as he was opening it, going like, this looks like a little bit fatter. So
he I've seen the video you showed me. He's just like, it's popping.
Yeah.
like it's gonna pop open, like the actual the pack when he was opening it.
Yeah.
And then he pulls it out, and there's actually like the half a basketball, the Reebok pump.
Yeah.
Old school.
And be honest with me, like, would you pump it?
How could you not? Oh my God. How tempting is that?
I think I would do it.
It's like the big red button that says, don't push the big red button. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's got wet paint written all over it. It's like, is it?
I actually think when I'm breaking, that's one of the hardest things for me not to do, is like touch the patches on the card. Like, because actually, if I got my own patches, I really enjoy having
like the texture of the card.
Yeah, I just enjoy especially thinking the player had worn it or whatever. I just sort of gently touch it. So I think even for that breaker there, like I feel like how did that guy not have a go at that?
That's insane. And as far as like cool kind of, I don't know, what would you call it?
It's
Cool
it's art.
products
Yeah.
under, like, in as far as something that's in a card,
Yeah. They nailed
that is
that.
cool.
Yeah. Whoever did that deserves a promotion and like a really nice like bonus at the end of the year in terms of cash.
Yeah. Yeah. Now my question is, are these a game worn pair of pumps, or is it just one of many pairs that he had? Did it have to be?
Look, I'm making a lot of assumptions here. A lot of stuff out of iMac is game worn.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say yes, it was. And the other thing I'd say about in terms of shoes too is like they would wear a pair a game, sometimes two pairs. So I don't particularly think it would be that hard for them to get
a pair
of game worn.
like Reebok pumps from like what, the 80s.
Yeah. How awesome is that though?
Wow.
What a patch. Yeah, that I don't know, to me like that's
special.
It's game over. But does that also then lead them into in the future they're going to be doing even crazier stuff? So, what's next?
Wow. But what, all right, so what item from a player's, I don't know, kit bag,
Yeah,
can you put into a piece of card, like into a card?
Yeah.
Bit of sweatband, bit of a knee brace, a bit of a...
I mean, that particular series is like it's a sneaker one. And
that like the sole of a sneaker is one thing, but
Yeah.
the tongue of a pair of Reebok pumps, that's...
Yeah.
And that's not... I mean, it's not common.
No.
Like the pumps are a very iconic shoe
Yeah.
in themselves. So
Yeah.
that is, very much a unique...
So
yeah.
In terms of adding to your PC and getting one of these cards, these iMac sneaker cards, even a really low end, like I've got a Steven Zimmerman, that cost me $50.
Oh wow.
So, even if you're buying someone who's like, out of the league, low end of the totem pole, yada yada, you're still looking at like they resell
money
for huge money. But the thing about these cards is when you do get them in your hands, like they are like 300 point cards, like they're really, really thick cards.
Well, this one would be 300 point with a little like dome at the top.
It's like
of
400, 450 points, something like that. And that's a little bit a part of the problem of owning these cards is they're very hard to, look after and sort of encase because you essentially can't, you can't get a top loader for them.
Yeah.
And
you
what a
have
lot
to
of
get them custom encased.
Well, those boxes that you put stacks of 30-point cards into, so you might say put 30 or 40 of them, and then that sort of plastic lid goes on top.
Yeah.
That's what you see a lot of when you sell them. A lot of people will put them into that and just put a bit of tape around it and sort of foam that up and put it into the post box. There's not a lot else you can do with them. So
not easy to protect.
Yeah. So interesting one. Yeah.
Would you send it off to get graded just so that they have to, so it's the grading company's problem to figure out how to store it?
Do they grade the cards that big? I've never seen.
I don't think they
like
would.
that.
I couldn't imagine a grading company accepting this.
And also too, then you couldn't pump it anymore. So like, let's be honest. Why would you do that?
Oh, can you imagine being the guy that's grading the card? You'd want to pump it so bad. I could not own this card. I just couldn't. Actually, no. You own it as a novelty. You get everyone like, pump it. I dare you.
Alrighty.
Wow! But well, speaking of iconic things on cards, that's probably the perfect segue into our big listener question for the week.
Yep.
So we put up a little question on Facebook.
Yep, and the group is called NBA Basketball Cards Australia, Trade, Buy, Sell, and Draws. If you're not a member, check it out. Great site. Great
group on private group on Facebook.
Yep.
Look, reach out. We can get you an invite. We can definitely get you in there, or at least a link to potentially be a member of the group.
I was going to say, we aren't admin. We cannot control who joins the group.
No, but we can certainly invite you, and then the admins can make a decision.
That is true. That's what we can do. Yeah.
Now, we also tweeted this out and put it up on the Insta. I think we got a tweet back from a very regular listener, Al, who showed us a photo of one of his Larry Johnson's, the arena card from up at it was a black... I can't even get the tweet up now. I don't believe...
it was a folding out like a booklet card. It's got
That's right.
Larry Johnson dribbling the ball with his left hand, and he's overlooking from a high perspective of the arena which is in the dark, and it's got flames coming up from the
That's
inside
the
the
one.
crowd there. Yeah.
Yeah, really beautiful card. Like the booklet cards are interesting. I guess you get that really wide panoramic kind of
Yep.
photo as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the question is, what is your favorite photograph on a trading card?
Yep.
We had a lot of interest.
Yeah, and to be fair, I had a lot of trouble even doing this myself because you're not actually looking at the card or the card's value, or even the type of card. You're purely looking at the photograph itself. So,
Well, does that impact like your aesthetic view on things? Do you know what I mean? Like, does because it's an iconic card or a rare card, does that enhance the photo in your eyes as the collector? So you've got, I suppose there are different.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you've got a 1 of 1, you're going to assign it more value than a base card that's printed to.
But you're going to love the photo more than. And I guess I've got a few here that actually one of my top three are in this little submission group.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting to see how people sort of perceive this. We had a lot, probably too many photos to go through and
to do every
shout
single
out
one.
everybody.
100%. Yeah, but thank you to everyone who did contribute.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. Now, I suppose the one that caught my eyes, or one or two of them.
Yeah.
I've got Brock Glasgow.
Yep.
With the Scoring Kings.
Sure.
Jordan, that's not just because it's Scoring Kings. I think that it's the Jordan shot with the lightning. It just really, it's eye catching.
Yep.
And I just think that's a really that's one of my favorite photos. It's a top 5 for me.
Yeah.
And the one below it from Clinton DeRose was the LeBron tribute.
Yep.
Dunk. So they were definitely two of my picks, but the one that sort of tops my list, I'll go down the list a little bit. Once again, it's MJ.
Yeah.
Funny, I didn't actually name a Kobe. A lot of lovely photos of Kobe, but nothing sort of stands out like this. It was Dan Hutton's 92-93 common, just a base Jordan.
Yep.
Yeah, that card is synonymous with basketball cards for me.
Yep.
And the photo just stays in my mind. Like I remember kids that had this on a poster. That was Jordan.
Yeah.
That was my anytime someone talked about a Jordan card, that is the first picture that comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, good job, Dan. Plenty of other MJs there that sort of stood out as well. Anybody? Did I already name your pick?
I was going through my list as you were talking to try and tick some of them off, but yeah. Have you finished, mate? Do you want me to
that's my top 3 from the submissions. I've got another one that's not on the list, but I'll
talk about it because, to be fair, I've got 7 on my list and I've got honourable mentions. So
and you've got honourable. Oh, okay, all right.
So take your time. You're fine.
I will. Yeah. So I mean, obviously the Jordan 92-93 Upper Deck, synonymous with basketball cards for me. But from that set, I honestly think 92-93 Upper Deck had so much. It was the Shaq rookie.
Yeah,
that photo, that 3 shots of Shaq, that just really, as far as a photo, it's like it's a layered photo, of course, but that it's like just that black background, and you've got Shaq kind of going up for that jam, and it's that's the photo that sort of gets me when I think of photos on a card. I'm like that was where it was at.
Yeah, look, I suppose just going back a little bit in terms of this sort of thought exercise, why I want to do it is because I think sometimes it's so easily to get caught up in terms of, dollars and cents when you get into this hobby.
Yep.
And there was a video this week on Instagram about a guy he owns a card store, and he was opening boxes of NT like they were packets of Hoops Hobby. And he was going through these boxes, hoping to get like a big hit. And he opened a case and he got some okay cards. And because he didn't get this, big boy that he was after, he then opened another case and opened one more box out of it and got this like massive, LaMelo RPA. And a lot of the feedback to that was basically very negative towards this guy and
Yeah.
saying like, this is disgusting. You shouldn't be treating cards this way and all this sort of stuff. And look, at the end of the day, he probably got those boxes for wholesale, but to get himself to that point, he would have put years and years of work into it.
Yep.
And it's his money, and that's how he wants to enjoy his experience, and that's how he opens up cards. It was
That's
very entertaining viewing because, let's be honest, like sometimes with breaks, I'm the worst for this. I can take like an hour and 15 minutes to run a break. He just did like 50 grand's worth of product in 5 minutes.
he just
Like
went bang, bang,
that's
bang, bang,
it's
bang. Yeah.
like it is insane. Like I have to admit, my mind was sort of blown doing that. So I think for me, this is a really important exercise because, and this is really important to me as someone, the way that I engage with the hobby, it's really important to cater to that price point of $1
Mm.
and $5 and $10 all the way up to $1,000. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really important to me because some of these cards on the list are amazing cards and you'll be able to pick them up for $5 to $10, probably $15 posted.
Yep. Yep. They're not extremely valuable.
No, no. And
In
I think
fact, it'd be
I,
more. Does somebody have some of these cards?
yeah,
Some of them would be harder to track down. Not so much
yeah,
for their value.
yeah,
They're just like
yeah.
really quirky cards.
And I think one day I want to make a T-shirt that says like "respect the base" or "bring back base cards" or sort of something like some pun on that because I think sometimes we do like disregard base cards. And I'll probably also say too, like one thing that I really enjoy about basketball cards is that a lot of them are action shots and they're like real-time action shots. And some of the photos, like if you actually take the time to look through your base cards as they come back from your break or as they come out of packs, like they're actually really good photos. And
Yep. Yeah.
do we not actually spend enough time enjoying and absorbing them? So I suppose this is kind of my way to almost force people to like look at their cards
Actually,
and
have a look at
yeah,
all of their cards as
yeah,
and in a bit more detail.
yeah. So
It's
look, if you
it
are
is,
listening
yeah.
to this, I implore you just take out an old photo, an old folder of cards and sit through them, look at them like photos. Because I went through all my Olajuwon cards. I've got like a few hundred Olajuwon cards just in this folder, and they're randomly put in. They're not organized. I've got doubles in there and stuff, but. And I was
Yep.
really trying to find an Olajuwon card to to fit on my list, and I just couldn't do it. But I did enjoy that sort of process of it. So
Yeah.
I'll get onto my list. I've had enough of a chat here. So these are my honorable mentions. Bodan put up this My House Giannis, which is like him sort of flexing. I think if
Yeah.
they did that again these days, it would be more impressive because I feel like he's put on another 10 or 15 kilos of muscle since they took that photo. So it'd be like, he'd be
Yeah.
super pumped up.
Oh, for sure.
Richard Westwood put up a Chris Webber card when he's dunking on Barkley, and actually that
Yeah.
one they made an ad for it. So if you Google Webber dunking on Barkley commercial, you see this like awesome throwback. It's got Kenny Smith, joking at Barkley. It's
Oh,
really cool.
wow.
Jake Wood put up a De'Aaron Fox card, and just because of my own bias, I have to give that an honorable mention. And then Aiden, excuse my pronunciation, Ladoki, put up a Kobe card, which is him sort of doing this like floating reverse layup, which is the East-West card. And I thought that was really cool too. So,
Yeah.
and then I limited my cards down to 7. At spot 7, I had Nathan Lee put forward a Starks dunking on Chicago Bulls. That's a Topps finest card. And I think in terms of an iconic photo, like I remember that moment when he did that. I remember the Knicks crowd like erupting and him walking around, and the Bulls were kind of like, taken back a bit. Like that was a sick dunk, and they've captured it beautifully. At spot 6, I've got Steve Nash, and that was put forward by Andy Davis. That's a Fleer 96-97 rookie card, and it's him doing the wraparound one. And I think for me, that's an iconic photo because I've actually got a Steve Nash toy somewhere, and it's him doing that exact like wraparound pass. So for me,
Yeah.
that was a beautiful one. At spot 5, I got Rodman from the 1-and-1 set. It's him doing that outstretched. He's trying to save the loose ball before it goes out, and they've captured the moment. How they caught that on camera, he's perfectly like
Outstretched.
horizontal, yeah, and that's like that captures so much about that era of basketball when essentially that's all he was just this hustle guy that like brought energy to that sort of, you know, aging Bulls team, and he was doing all this crazy stuff, and he probably didn't even need to save the loose ball. He just did it to like
No, but
pump up his
that
team.
sums
And
him up. That
yeah,
sums Rodman up.
yeah, it
Like,
does,
I
right?
dare
Yeah.
you to, I challenge anyone to find another player outstretched like that
Ever.
horizontally.
Who has ever done that? Like
Show me
other
a
than
photo
Rodman?
of
Yeah.
that on a card
Yeah.
ever,
So
and
that,
definitely a timeless moment. That one.
yeah, that's from Christian Nolte. And then the other Rodman card that we have to mention here, and this is like an honorable mention, but I'm going to pair it in. This is from Damo Winterbon, and I'm trying to keep this as G-rated as possible, but he doesn't have his undies on, and his shorts are a little bit up, so we have to mention that in there somewhere.
Quality control. Back in the day from Upper Deck was either they had the day off, I guess.
It's about the same as Panini these days, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Quality control, Panini, about the same. Yeah.
At spot
on.
4. And this was going to be my number 1, and this is actually the picture I put up on the post when we listed it, was that Ja Morant Luminance dunk. I've got a couple of these in my collection. I think they're just, it's an amazing photo. He didn't make the dunk in the game, but still, it's a beautiful dunk.
It doesn't look like he didn't make the dunk, and never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
No,
right?
definitely not.
Exactly.
Definitely not. So my last 3, and I would probably say, and you've already mentioned this a little bit too, of like, it was very Jordan heavy on the post, and it probably also illustrates people's perspective of their basketball experience and also their collecting experience. So my last 3 LeBron cards. And actually,
wow.
I'm not a big LeBron fan, and I've said this, ad nauseum, and I love poking fun at the guy. Like, and he leads himself to it. Like, who goes on to national TV and says, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach"? Like, it's the most laughable.
Like, this man cares about the narrative
too much, and he anyway. Look, as much as I like to tease the guy, he's one of the greatest basketball players ever, and he's the player of my generation. And maybe actually what this really says about me and my sort of, basketball experience is Jordan is less important to me than LeBron is. Which I never actually thought about that or even, verbalized that before until I sort of made this list. But, maybe that's actually true. So at spot 3 for me, I've got the LeBron chalk toss, which was put forward by Adam Crosley. And there was also an alternate chalk toss put forward by Benjamin Allen. So Benjamin Allen put forward the hoops one, which is the north-south one he's throwing up into the air. But probably my favorite chalk toss is the tops one, where it's that sort of, east-west card.
Yeah, for sure.
And just to add to my frustration of that too, is that I've actually got one of those cards, but I cannot find it anywhere. I've been looking for it. I cannot find it. Spot 2, I've got Jordan. It's an in-your-face card. It's a card taken from the dunk competition.
Yeah. Do you know what the funny thing is? That's from 92, 93 Upper Deck.
Yeah. That
set had so much, like, the photographers.
Yeah.
That year was just.
Yeah. That's an amazing photograph. That is such a beautiful photograph. And to be honest, if I had that in a life-sized, poster, like, I'll put that onto my wall. Like, it's that good of a photograph. And I think my last card is the LeBron tribute dunk.
I really thought that the top one was going to be the Muggsy Bogues.
What are you calling it, short?
No, I had to mention Muggsy.
I'm a short dude.
Man, he came in there. Oh, we've met. We're both not the tallest people on the planet, and that just the capture the who wrote in there. Let's go down. I'm scrolling down now.
While you're finding that, do you mind if I finish my bit on the LeBron?
You talk about the LeBron dunk.
So for me, this card is, in terms of photography, I just think it's amazing. And I would also say too, like, the narrative behind that picture is because it says to me that LeBron James cares enough or cares that much about Kobe Bryant that he would practice that dunk, behind closed doors. And
it's a respect thing more than anything. Like,
it is. And it's like, he's honoring Kobe. Like, this is his way of like telling Kobe that he loves him and he misses him, and that he would then have enough cerebral capacity to be out on a break in a game and pull that move off perfectly. And then the photographer caught that moment and put it into a card. And I think that, and I've said this before already, that
Mm.
I think Panini puts different levels of effort into bigger name players onto cards, and lesser name players, they just get whatever stock photo they've got.
Yep.
Like, this is, in my mind, the definition of a home run, and I think that if you don't own one of these cards in whatever pressing or parallel that it is, you need to make an effort to get one of these cards, because
Yeah.
my personal belief is this is just, it's an all-time card. Whatever you feel about LeBron James, and again, I don't feel that strongly about LeBron James, and I think this is just the
Yeah.
definition of perfection. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
As far, and for what it is, it's just
yeah,
such a fitting tribute too.
the silvers and the numbered of those cards are are really expensive, but
Yeah.
you can get bases for the around sort of 30 to 50 mark. And in
Yep.
terms of color matching, check out the purple cracked or the purple wave. They are
Yeah.
excellent if you can afford it, and it's in your sort of, it's what you enjoy. Yeah, I think I'm going to be, that's on my, like, it's now, I've got a hunt list, and I've got a
Yeah.
couple of those on my hunt list now. After doing this exercise, it's really brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so that I think we're in agreement that tribute card is, as far as a photo on a basketball card,
Yeah.
that just typifies catching a moment in history, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what the photographer's job is.
Yeah.
Yeah. To go on the more jovial side, Andrew Sterry.
Yeah.
Any pictured card of Muggsy Bogues in it, dude had no absolutely damn but every right being in there. He's under the ring, he's in the key, and he's what, 5'3"?
Yeah, 5'3" he was.
He was tiny.
Yeah, he's a beast.
And I'm like, I'm tell you what, there's got a heart as big as Muggsy to play with all the big boys at that size.
Yeah.
Hats off. It's a really, I don't know. It's an interesting photo because you just see you see a man that's just determined. Like, he's in the key. Look at how small he is in comparison to his opponent.
Yeah. He was. Yeah.
It's,
Actually, he was very strong.
Yeah, but that's a David and Goliath matchup.
Yeah,
like,
he was
literally someone that's got a foot on you.
Yeah.
Or more, and going, I've no fear, I'm going in. So it's a different kind of take on what the photographer's captured, but it's it's interesting. Fitting.
Good call, mate. That was great. Yeah. Any last thoughts before we close off today's show?
I need to get myself a LeBron tribute card.
Yeah.
I've cracked enough Prism product, and I still haven't lucked into one. So I don't know. I might have to get out there and shell out some cash for it.
Yeah. Look, I'm probably going to do a bit of shameless self-promotion at the moment. We don't have a sponsor at the moment, so I'm going to use my own break page as a sort of a mini sponsor for this week. So,
give us a shout out. Tell us all about your breaks, Russell.
Oh, look, I'll keep it pretty brief. But US Sports Cards Australia, we try and keep it pretty real. I would like to say that. In terms of what we aim to provide, we do NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL. We've also now branched out into a pop culture page. So they do Star Wars, they do Pokemon, they do WWE. And then probably also too, the big thing, the project that I've been working on recently is because we actually have so much traffic on our page, I'm now like split off into my own break page. So if you search for breaks, US Sports Cards Australia, you'll find my dedicated NBA page. And I think one thing that I've been really struggling with the last couple of years is, what breaks cost. So I try to do one break a week, which is around the $10 a week mark. And that will be retail product.
Yeah.
But we've actually started doing WNBA product semi-regularly. I'm sort of doing it every 2 or 3 weeks. And I think for me, it's actually been really, really refreshing because it almost seems like you're getting a hobby box, $300, and it almost seems like this is what we were doing like 3 years ago. So I've really been enjoying that, and the uptake on that's been excellent.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm a massive college card fan, and this hasn't taken off at all. But at the same time, I want this, sort of progressively become a thing. So I want to do that once a month or once every 3 weeks, sort of something like that. So that's enough of my own sort of plug.
That's a huge plug. I couldn't recommend high enough. Been in a few breaks, not been disappointed once.
Thanks,
I did sort of whiff once, but there was a what do we call it? What's the price?
Yeah,
that's
so
it.
I I do value skunk prices because I think there's nothing worse than going into a break and
Yeah, it
walking
kind
away
of
with
feels
nothing.
bad when you just go, I got absolutely
Yeah.
nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely right. It's a good feeling to get something.
Something. Yeah.
And yeah, couldn't recommend your breaks high enough. Had a lot of fun watching them on YouTube. No additional fluff, which is good.
Thanks, brother.
They're nice and efficient, the
Cheers.
breaks, and you don't go too fast, too slow. It's really good,
Yeah.
entertaining to watch, and some good banter in the chat if people are up and
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So
Great. Thanks, man.
that's all right. Now I guess we just plug ourselves as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah. Let's do the
if people
socials.
want to reach out to us on the socials. You can find us on Instagram. It's a simple search for You Can't Comp This.
Yep.
On Twitter, we are at You Can't Comp This.
Yep.
And if you'd like to send us some good old email,
We haven't had an email yet.
Come on, we're looking for a first email.
Come on, give us our
every
first
other
email, lads.
platform.
Yep.
We've had people reach out to us.
Yeah, not an email. Come on, boys.
youcantcompthis@gmail.com.
Yep.
Nice and easy.
Yep.
First email will get a special episode dedicated to said email. So please put some thought into it.
Hang on, we didn't talk about this offline. Are you saying that the person who writes an email will get their own episode?
That's it. We're going to dedicate the whole episode. This could be a 3-minute episode.
Okay.
Where we read out an email, or it could be we could get the Luba Manifesto Part 2. We don't know.
You put me on the spot, but I'll agree to this, Adam. All right, let's go. Let's do this.
And look, if you haven't joined the group on Facebook, if you search up You Can't Comp This podcast,
we've
got a Facebook group where we hang out, ask a few questions here and there, and anyone can sort of contribute and give us some suggestions for the show.
Yeah, man, definitely. Thank you again, mate,
for another fun week.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. It was great.
It's been great. Looking forward to the next one. So hopefully we get that email and got something to talk about.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week.
See you next time, everyone.
Cheers.